Shalom, shalom. All right, before I get started, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostle and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, safety to the elect, all over the four corners of the earth. Shalom. All right, this is another lesson. Brother Rival Moth out the Atlanta church, and dealing with the struggles, so to say, that comes along with serving Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah, and either you built for it or you're not. It's only only the elect, is gonna be able to deal with it. So we don't know if we are the elect, but the men that's doing it is doing the things of the elect. So this is the straight gate with Matthew 7:13. It says, "Enter ye in at the straight gate." Right? Enter you in at the straight gate. So you got to go in to Yahweh Bashem Shah through Yahweh Bashem Shah, right? It says, "For wide is the gate and broad is the way." So wide is the way and broad is the way, meaning it's wide, that's easy. Broad is the way, that's easy, okay? You got to think about it in a physical sense of a gate that is very, very wide and is very broad, okay? That's easy for people to get through. You have your different events, ball games, your tennis matches, football, basketball. Let's say like the U.S. Open, you got all these gates of these, thousands of people coming in to see these matches. It's easy for them to come in with a whole lot of gates, right? But then when you narrow it down, just say half of the gates is a lot harder for any BS to get through, for any bullshit to get through, okay? So that's the point of having, a narrow gate so that less wickedness can get through when you refer to the truth, right? So it says, "Enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction," because this broad and wide way leads to destruction. You see? There's no filter. You can't filter the things that you're pushing out, which is BS, if that gate is wide and broad. You see? A filtering process, it does what? It catches all of that the BS, so to say. A lot of times, a lot of filters situation, it slows things down. It slows it down. Why? Because it's catching the things that are bad and not allowing them to go through. And then the filter get clogged, and then you got to change the filters. Well, it's the same way in the truth, man. Yahweh Bashem Shai, you have to go through the Lord, and he's going to filter and catch all the wickedness, all that wickedness that you thinking that you're going to be able to come and come through with man. The Lord's going to get rid of all. He's catching all of that, getting rid of that. Them angels is reporting back to Yahweh Bashem Shai. So it says, "For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction." It says, "And many there by which go in thereat." Many. See that? A lot of people love that way, but that way leads to destruction. Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way. Here, see that? But when you start to say, listen, when you got to go through Yahweh Shai to get to the Heavenly Father Yahweh, you got to go through Yahweh Shai. See that? So you got to go straight through. You got to be for real about it. Meaning, listen, man, it's going to be some troubles along this way. It's going to be some difficulties on this way. It's going to be some struggles, some sufferings, okay? It's going to be some things you're going to have to go through along this way. That what? You're going to have to go through to prove that you truly is seeking after Yahweh Bashem Shai. So it says, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, which leadeth unto what? Life. Life. See that? The kingdom of heaven, the glory. That's what it leads to. It says, "And few there be that find it." Few. See that? Few find it, man. Okay? You know? Many follow the way that leads to destruction. That's the easy route. But guess what? Few gonna follow that route that leads to the kingdom of heaven, that leads to Yahweh Bashemah Shah. Okay? The glory. You know? Now, I'm gonna pull up on Google. Let me see. Yep, this it. This is off of Google right here, right? With the straight gate. It says what on? It says the straight gate or the narrow gate in the Bible is not an easy way. It's not an easy way. This path, it comes with difficulties. It comes with struggles, okay? It comes with things that you're gonna afflictions, okay? You read about Paul afflictions. He endured those afflictions for Yahweh Shema Shah's sake, for the truth's sake, okay? It says it represents a challenging path. See? A challenging path. It's not an easy cakewalk. If you playing a sport, basketball, it's not a blowout. You can't say, well, I was catching hell before. Now I'm going to go, serve Yahweh Shah, and it's going to be an easy walk. No, man. It's not going to be a blowout. It's just going to be, you going to fucking damn near trail the whole game. But guess what? You're going to win at the end. You're going to win it because that's what champions made, right? At the end, man, that heart rate going to be 180 or above, you know what I'm saying? And you giving it all you got. That represents the truth, the elect, man. So it says it represents a challenging path that requires effort and discipline. See that? Requires effort and discipline to enter, contrasting with the wide and easy path that leads to destruction. Yahweh Shah uses the imaginary of the narrow gate to illustrate that the path of the eternal life is demanding and not the path of least resistance. Right? It's not the path of least resistance. So it's going to be heavy resistance. Whoo, it's going to be hard then. It's what the straight gate is all about, man. You see that? And that's what this truth is about. This truth is not a cakewalk, okay? This thing is going to be sweet as honey, but then, you're going to be like, wait a minute, I be like, should I regurgitate this? No, don't regurgitate. Hold it down and just go through your struggles. Guess what? The light is on. The light is coming. The light represents Yahweh Shah. Yahweh Shah is coming. You see that? So hold it down until Yahweh Shah coming. We can get up out of here, man. So let me see that word resistance in the Edamon Online. It says mortal political opposition, late 14th century military or armed physical opposition by force, difficulty, trouble. See that? Resistance represents trouble, represents a difficult thing to do, difficulties, right? It's how hard it is. You know how hard it is when people drown, they get in the ocean, they get carried out with the current. You trying to fight that current. That's a losing battle, right? But guess what? If you fight for this truth, it's not a losing battle though. It's gonna be hard, but it's not a losing battle though. You're actually winning. You see, and the glory is coming. Remember, those that wait upon Yahweh Bashemah Shah shall receive salvation from Yahweh Bashemah Shah. See? So it's not, man, this thing is a beautiful dealing with basketball, a triple overtime victory, so to say. It's gonna be tight, but guess what? You're gonna win in the end though. Let me go back. Let's see. So, let's see the difficulty. It says difficulty and effect. It says entering the narrow gate requires consistent effort. It says and a commitment to follow Yahweh Shai teaching the will of Yahweh Shema Shai. It says the narrow path is often seen as a less popular choice, right? People don't want to take that choice, but guess what? The elect gonna take it because it's not the popular thing to do. Man, you got all these 2/3 out here. You got all kind of wickedness out here in Babylon. The popular thing is to do in Babylon is to be wicked. That's what they pushes. They don't push this narrow gate. Okay. It says as many people prefer the easy and convenient way, which is depicted as the wide gate, right? But that gate, it leads to destruction. It leads to your downfall. It leads to you falling. It leads to you being destroyed. It leads to death. That's what it leads to. Okay. This is Sirach 12:8. It says a friend cannot be known in prosperity, and an enemy cannot be hid in adversity, right? Because your spirit gonna come forth and you're gonna show who you really is. Okay. So when you go through the different difficulties and different troubles and this resistance, what it brings out is what truly was in you. You see? So you can't say that, oh, well, I'm a friend of the Lord, and no, man, the Lord gonna make you prove everything. Okay, you gotta prove to the Lord that you for real about it. You gotta go through ups, downs, lows, highs. Okay, and at the same time, you gotta keep your spirit. Okay, good in Yahweh Shema Shai. Continue to believe and have faith in Yahweh Shema Shai. When things don't seem good, when you're going through all different types of troubles, you going through stuff with your rib, you with your family members, your mother, your father, okay, your kids, your job, your personal life, whatever it may be, you're gonna go through different things, okay. But guess what? You have to find a way to keep your faith on point, though. Okay, then you start to prove yourself. So you can only prove yourself when tests come along, when that resistance in the truth comes. When that happen, when that resistance happen, then that's how you prove yourself. So what you gonna do? Because your true spirit gonna come out. It says a friend cannot be known in prosperity and an enemy cannot be hid in adversity, right? Because they gonna show themselves. You see? So you gotta understand that this thing that we're in is a thing of troubles and a thing of difficulty. It's not an easy walk, right? Let me get this last one right here. This is 2 Timothy 4:5. I'm gonna read both versions, but the King James version first. It says, "But watch thou in all things." It says, "Endure." The word endure means to be made hard, right? So it says to be made hard, endure affliction. So be made hard to the afflictions. See that? It says do the work. So you make yourself hard to that. Why? Because you can't allow these afflictions and hard times and troubles and difficulties, to Jacob's trouble. You can't let these things stop you from serving Yahweh Shema Shai and doing the will of the Lord. See? So it says, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. See that? So do the work, okay, and make full proof of the ministry. I'm going to read in the NLT. It says, but you should keep a clear mind in every situation. Don't be afraid of suffering. Wow. Suffering for who? It says for the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai. So don't be afraid to suffer for Yahweh Shema Shai. Remember in Matthew, the 5th chapter, it says what? The ones that that's going to be persecuted for the kingdom's sake, for receiving the kingdom and the glory. Okay? Their relationship with Yahweh Shema Shai. that we want. That righteousness spread it out over the whole world. That everybody's pushing and living. Okay, that's what you want. The 144,000. Yahweh Shai, King David. Okay, you want these. That's what you want. So it says, do not be afraid of suffering for Yahweh Shema Shai. Work at telling others the good news. So continue to preach the good news. Do the work, okay? It says, and fully carry out the ministry God has given you. Fully carry out. So carry out the ministry. You see that? So this is what, this truth you can read on Sirach, the second chapter, man. This is not a easy walk, it's good, all about sweets and no, man. Remember, the Lord is a just balance. You can't just be sweet all the time and this everything all good. Nah, man, it's got to be some barrels, it got to be some bitter, you know what I'm saying? I mean some bitter. I said barrel, but bitter. Got to be some bitter, man, to balance it out. So, it's going to be, you're going to have some ups, you're going to have some downs. But the thing about it is, you stick with it, man. Stick with it and push for Yahweh Shema Shai. Push for it. So with that, I pray that this was edifying. I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakakwadash, double honors, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, safety to the elect. Shalom.